Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Welcome to Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntire. McIntire Retirement Services, Northwest Ohio's retirement planning resource.
And welcome into the program. This is your Game Plan for Retirement with Northwestern Ohio's resource for a common sense approach to planning for your financial and retirement future. He is president and founder of McIntire Retirement Services. Chris McIntire once again with us. Chris, welcome back in.
Hey, good morning. Good to be with everybody. Hope you're doing well.
We appreciate the time, Chris. We appreciate the guidance and perspective that you provide to Northwestern Ohio savers and investors. Everybody, I think, has questions about their financial future. A big one right now is what's the future of tax policy going to look like? And last week, we talked about the benefits of the Roth being apolitical as possible. I think no matter who's in office or what the future of tax policy looks like, Chris, we agree that the tax-free income that can be generated from a Roth is probably pretty beneficial. And there are other benefits as well.
Somebody would have to convince me that paying a rate lower than 0% is possible, or that paying a rate higher than 0% is in your best interest. So, I'm a tax geek, as you know there, Peter, and we enjoy doing the Roth conversions, and we've done more of them this year probably than any other year in my career that I can think of. And I just think it's starting to gain more traction. People are being more active in their tax planning. They understand that tax rates are historically low. And, obviously we don't know where they're going to be in the future. So why not convert when they're historically low? That's what would Warren Buffett do? And that's probably what Warren would do given the opportunity.
Buy things when they are on sale. And America's leading IRA expert, CPA Ed Slott, has been on our program before saying basically the same thing. The taxes are on sale. Why not buy them when they are historically low? Now, Chris, we covered a little bit of the Roth last week, but we wanted to get into more of the specific strategies to build up more in your Roth account. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've got questions or concerns, you want to look at your financial, your retirement, and specifically your tax planning for those retirement accounts, pick up the phone, give Chris McIntire a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. But Chris, just to recap, we are all making some assumptions with the way that we are planning and preparing for retirement. The status quo for those assumptions for the last, say, 30 to 40 years has been that taxes will be lower into the future, but we're seeing a real shift in paradigm in that assumption. And most of the people you talk to believe that taxes could actually go higher from this point forward.
Certainly, Peter. And, I've been one of the leading advocates at a lot of our educational events, saying, look, guys, taxes are low now. It's time to change the way of thinking. That if you're still working out there, especially for those who are contributing, okay, we'll talk about conversions. For right now, we're talking about contributing. That means I'm still working. I'm actively putting money into my 401k or my Roth 401k at work and, paying taxes on the seed and having a tax-free harvest. Okay, that's the difference. If you have a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k plan, you don't pay tax on the seed, you pay tax on the entire harvest. Like Peter said, the conventional paradigm or the conventional way of thinking had been when I retire, I can pull money out of that 401k account at a lower tax rate. And right now, Peter and I, my argument, and Peter as well, we would say, look, pretty good chance taxes are going to go up at some point in the future, or there'll be additional taxes to pay for all this deficit spending to get through the 2008 financial crisis and then the 2020 pandemic. Let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope we don't talk about the pandemic a whole lot in 2021, or at least the second half of it anyway, for the good of all of us. I'd like to go to a restaurant, but it's time to change the way of thinking on that. And obviously I've seen many more people with hundreds of thousands of dollars in Roth accounts where 5 years ago if you saw $50,000 in a Roth account, that was a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're starting to see more and more of this as more companies are bringing in Roth 401ks. It's easier. People can direct that right out of the gate, you know, instead of having to do tax analysis and then talk to somebody about conversions. It's making it easier. And when that's the default mentality, that's where it will be better. And, you know, as Ed Slott has said often, Ed's a tax planner out of New York, and they call him America's IRA expert. You know, I know Ed personally. Peter knows him personally. We've had him on the show, and Ed's a keynote speaker at, you know, essentially 3 of the 5 conferences that we go to throughout the year, because he's just fantastic. Anyway, you know, and Ed says if he was the accountant for the United States government, the first thing he would do would be to get rid of anything that is income tax free, because how does that benefit the government, right? So with deficits,
but he's not. He's an advocate for you and me and consumers, and so quite the opposite advice.
Absolutely there. So, you know, so Ed's always been talking about Roth IRA conversions, and Peter and I will get into that in the show. But for right now, for some of you that are still working, you know, you can start redirecting those dollars into, you know, where they'll be taxable in the future. They're going to be tax-free in the future. That may help with your Medicare premium costs above the age of 65. It may help with Social Security taxation for many of you as well. And, you know, a number of other areas that may come up that we don't know that exist right now, that with the stroke of a pen can change.
Well, I want to circle back, and I know math does not translate very efficiently over the radio, but just talk about these assumptions again, Chris, because the goal of our money and our investments is growth. So let's say over a 10-year period, we invested $100,000 in tax-deferred accounts, and we were in the 20% tax bracket. But during that time, because the goal is growth, our money doubles. So now it's $200,000. If we were in the 20% tax bracket, we would save $20,000. And in order to account for that or offset that, basically tax rates would have to drop to 10% on our $200,000 for it to be an equivalent tax break even. They would actually have to go lower than that to be a tax saving. So taking it with a grain of salt, if what we have thought to this point is true, if taxes do go down in the future, the growth might still offset that and give us a bigger bill. Albert Einstein said the most powerful force on the planet was the power of compounding interest. And I think the IRS was paying attention when they said, hey, let them defer paying taxes till a later date.
Absolutely. And, you know, 2020 was an interesting year that the government actually suspended required minimum distribution, so less tax revenue. But you're exactly right, Peter. You know, for those of you out there that don't know this, at age 72, if you have a traditional IRA or a 401k, the government mandates you have to take money out of that account, whether you need to or not. And, you know, I have conversations every single day with clients, especially this time of year, on, you know, do they take their RMDs this year or not? And, you know, but you cannot take your required minimum distribution and convert that into a Roth IRA. They don't let you do that. So these are things you'll need to be doing before you hit the age of 72. So anyone can convert, not everyone can contribute. Yep. So remember that conversions and contributions have 2 different meanings. So anybody, like right now, I make too much money, I cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. Okay, I can put that money into a SEP IRA. Being self-employed, we have a SEP plan, not a 401k. I can put money into that and then convert it to a Roth. So there are ways around that, or I can put money into what's called a non-deductible IRA and convert that to a Roth, which is, you know, many people do that, doctors, lawyers, you know, there's several different mechanisms in play, you know, to make some of these things happen. But let's say I've got $100,000 in my SEP IRA account. At any time that I want to, I can convert that into a Roth. Okay, I cannot contribute to a Roth, but I can convert any dollars to a Roth. So not everyone can contribute, anyone can convert.
Yeah, an important distinction there. And if you want to learn what strategies are available for you in your specific situation to get more into tax-free growth, tax-free income, tax-free inheritance, that's what Chris McIntire can help you identify, those strategies that are available to you, and then doing it strategically and efficiently, making sure you're not costing yourself any more than is necessary in moving those dollars over or getting them into that bucket in the first place. Pick up the phone, give Chris a call for a 15-minute phone conversation to see if there are a few strategies that may apply to your situation that can help you leverage your dollars and keep more of them. 800-868-1194 is the number to call. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. Chris, as we talk about contributions or conversions, either one of these, there are some key opportunities. And we talk when we discuss the 401k about dollar cost averaging, about how putting regular deposits into the market is beneficial over time. It's one of the fundamental financial principles for long-term success. And the reason being is that because downturns in the economy are actually advantageous to us when we're making those contributions. Well, what if we're making those contributions when the market is down, Chris, and we're doing it into an account that grows tax-free into the future, or making that conversion when the market is down? So in other words, Chris, opportunity in crisis, when the market is down, it might be a great time to look at Roth IRA strategies.
Absolutely. And, March would have been a good opportunity to do that for folks. Your account values went down, slide them over into a Roth and then let them grow back. And we talked about that many times, right, in that March, April, May timeframe as well.
And of course, now, Chris, we can't go back and do that, but you at your firm for your clients look for those kind of opportunities proactively.
Yeah, no question about it. And, a lot of folks are in the mindset that, I'm going to delay taxes no matter what happens. And we have to break that train of thought that, by delaying or doing nothing, I'm doing the right thing. And that's not always the case. And this would be one of those situations in time that, look, taxes are down significantly. I mean, a married couple filing jointly with, almost $25,000 in a standard deduction. That means that's $25,000 you don't have to pay income tax on. Then you hit, a 10% tax bracket on the next 20,000 basically. And then all the way up till about, $88,000, I think it is, close in that range, you pay tax on and 12%. So you go from 0 to 10 to 12, up to 100,000. The effective tax rate on $100,000 for married filing jointly, is like 10%. So why not?
Not bad.
That's not a fair tax rate to pay. I don't know what is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, if we see some down markets or volatility, if you're making contributions, might be a great opportunity for you to continue doing that or do it more aggressively. Or if you've already got that large tax deferred balance, it may be an opportunity for you to consider some of these conversion strategies. Now, you want to do them right. You want to do them efficiently and make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's. You don't run into any trouble along the way. That's what Chris McIntire and his team there at McIntire Retirement Services, along with the help of some complementary professionals, a CPA or an accountant if needed, that's what they can make sure to structure into your plan and work into your long-term outlook for managing your tax liability and minimizing it wherever possible. Pick up the phone if you'd like to have that conversation. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. So again, contributions, getting brand new dollars into retirement accounts. Oftentimes there are limits, there are limitations, there are requirements that you have earned income to make those contributions, but a conversion is the process of taking dollars from the left pocket, tax deferred, and switching it over to the right pocket, tax free. Yes, you have to pay tax along the way, but that is a conversation that Chris McIntire can help with you on how to do it strategically and efficiently, and give them a call if you'd like to have that conversation. Right now is the time to look at this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. So Chris, you've got a list here of different strategies for getting money into that tax-free category. I think that what you just described there for yourself, your situation, is a little bit of this first one. It's typically called the backdoor conversion. And this is a good strategy for those who are income eliminated. Are there any other strategies there for those that might be making that higher income and feel like, well, I don't have the opportunity to get money into a Roth?
Yeah, there certainly are, Peter. And one that I use personally, where I probably put more money than anything else that we do, is life insurance. So we overfund a life insurance policy to take advantage of tax deferral and then borrowing against the policy for tax-free income. So it's another version of setting up something that's tax-free, right? If I can go to an insurance company and buy an annuity, that'll give me a lifetime income, okay? And a lot of times we do that with IRA dollars, okay? I can certainly say, well, boy, I'll know if it's a life insurance company on the annuity side, it'll give me an income for life. You probably can work the same thing out on a life insurance policy as well, but tax-free. So I like that. So using a lot of the IRS tax code into your favor, and they've had rulings on this all the way to the Supreme Court.
Different tools in the toolbox to basically help you achieve the same end goal, though. And not every strategy or tool is for every person or situation, but there are a variety of different options there to get money to build tax-free for us.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the purpose of the show here, is to educate people on all the different options that are out there. So, your regular investment strategy, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds underneath your Roth IRA is certainly plays an important role. Now there's also the backdoor Roth IRA, and I did some of that earlier this year. I had a Roth IRA at another place. I needed to add some more dollars to it, but I couldn't contribute. So I just opened up a non-deductible IRA account and then converted that money into the Roth. So, I wasn't able to deduct that contribution. I can't contribute to a normal Roth IRA just because of income limits that are out there. So, it's funny, man. You and I talk a lot of times. The rule book is this big, which is, I'm holding up about an inch for those of you that aren't watching on Zoom, and then the exception, it's like the size of the World Book Encyclopedia, the old days, or Webster's Dictionary. So there are many different avenues to get these things in place for folks. And sometimes you have to jump through a couple steps or loopholes. And that's what my wife and I have to do to get money into a Roth IRA for ourselves.
Now, another, we'll call it air quotes here, a loophole, Chris, is that even for those that are earning a pretty healthy income and are otherwise income eliminated from the ability to contribute to a Roth, if they have a plan available at their workplace, that 401k that has a Roth component, then they can still get money into the Roth through the 401k through the employer. And in fact, they can actually put much more than what their individual Roth IRA limits would allow.
Yeah, that's a great example. And thank you for bringing it up, Peter. So, if your workplace has a Roth 401k, you don't have the income limitations you do on the Roth IRA side. And Peter was exactly right. So make sure you're taking advantage of those. And, for those of you that do TurboTax, or if you have a CPA tax planner, ask them, say, hey, what if I did this? What if I converted some money from my IRA to my Roth? What would the smart dollar amount be for me to do that? And, they'll say, okay, well, you're in the 12% tax bracket. You could pull out another $6,000 and still be in the 12% tax bracket. And you can convert that to a Roth if you wanted to, or, you can pay it out to yourself if you wanted to, for that matter. We just had a client called up and said, my accountant said I can take another $6,000 out, and I'm just taking it to myself. So that's why I bring that up, and I'm smiling about that.
Well, there's a strategy for every situation. And again, your situation probably different than your neighbor's situation. And in fact, a couple weeks ago, Chris, on the program, we were talking about specifics of Medicare plans and how a married couple under one roof, their situations could be very different from each other and need specific planning. So again, ladies and gentlemen, talk with a qualified, experienced professional about your situation to identify those strategies that would be advantageous for you to leverage your money, be efficient with it, and make the most of it. Chris McIntire here to help.
Yeah, and I've got one more, Peter. We're working with another individual that got an early buyout Okay. So he's about 59 years old, and they're going to cover his health insurance as part of his buyout until he's 62. Okay. And then he's got to go buy private insurance until he's 65. So in 3 years, he's got to go either to the marketplace under the Affordable Care Act or, some sort of private insurance. And so under the Affordable Care Act, that private health insurance is going to be the cost is subject to his income limitations, right? So if he has money in the Roth IRA, that's not taxable income. So he can still live a nice lifestyle without trying to live poor, because I have several clients that don't have Roth IRAs or anything like that. And, because of the Affordable Care Act and health insurance premiums, they just have to live very poorly right now.
Another potential advantage there, especially for those who are intending to retire early, if your healthcare costs are something that you're responsible for and you're paying out of pocket to keep those as low as possible, the Roth IRA does make sense. And in fact, even after 65, Chris, because Medicare premiums are means tested essentially. So if you're creating income from Roth IRAs in the couple years leading up to when you enlist in Medicare, then that can actually help you with what those premiums might be. And again, all of these things play into the planning, ladies and gentlemen. It takes strategic planning. These are factors that not every worker, saver, investor really are fully aware of. That's why you trust a professional whose full-time job it is to know these things. They are experienced, they are qualified, they are knowledgeable in that field, like Chris McIntire. And if you've got questions or concerns, or if you'd like to put together that strategic plan, pick up the phone and give him a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Chris, another way to get more into that tax-free bucket, strategies for maximizing contributions. For a married couple, they can actually double up on those contributions.
Certainly can, yeah. And if they're over the age of 50, you get $7,000 a piece. Even if only one of those spouses happens to be working, you can do a spousal IRA, provided you have enough earned income, right? You have to make $14,000 to put $14,000 into two separate Roth IRAs, obviously. So yeah, a number of different methods that, are out there to allow people to save more money for their retirement. And, this country by and large has a retirement savings crisis. And, there's been some reports here that even given during this pandemic, as people are staying at home, they're actually saving more money for those that haven't lost their jobs, because you're not spending, you're not traveling and whatnot. And
unless they're buying boats and campers and RVs, which I hear are wildly popular right now because nobody can do anything else.
Well, yep. And we live up here on Catawba Island, and I'll tell you, the boat lots are empty. So they certainly, and I got some buddies that work in that industry, and things where you can social distance have certainly been very, very popular. But, our travel budget went to basically zero. Peter, as you know, we haven't been to any conferences or anything together. And, normally we do 2 or 3 of those a year.
Yeah, same in my household, Chris. No travel, no vacation expense this year.
Yep.
Saved a little money.
The grocery bill went to $3,000 a month, but but that's where the inflation gets you.
Where you save in one area, there's a hole in the bucket in the other. Yep. Well, Chris, another strategy that people might use for maximizing contributions, if they're getting a return, or if they're getting those RMDs, those requirements. You mentioned that a little earlier, and you cannot convert the RMDs, but you can use the net after you pay your tax, maybe to pay for conversions on additional dollars. And the same with that tax return. Maybe you can contribute the tax return directly, or maybe you can use that tax return to pay for a conversion on pre-existing tax deferred dollars.
Sure. Yeah, Peter, I think a good example of that would be, let's say your required minimum distribution was $5,000. Well, you can't put that $5,000 into a Roth, but there's nothing that says you can't take out an additional $5,000 and put that into the Roth IRA for a conversion. Absolutely. And then, also, we do run into some folks that don't need their Social Security benefit. They've got a nice income in the way they're strategizing and doing things. So, you could say, all right, I'm going to take my Social Security benefit and I'm going to use that to pay for the income taxes on my Roth conversions. And I know that may sound crazy to some people out there, but folks, believe it or not, we got a lot of people listening out here that everybody's got a different story. So we're just bringing up different ideas, different concepts. We're not endorsing any of these. It's, It's just letting you know that, look, the more arrows you have in your quiver, the more prepared you're going to be for, all these elements that are going to come up in retirement. And, Peter and I would agree that, it didn't surprise us one bit that they changed the way IRAs are distributed when grandmas and grandpas and mom and dads pass away. They have to be emptied within a 10-year time frame. The previous administration tried to pass it where they would have to be emptied in a 5-year time frame, because that's the way the old rules used to be.
What's the old pirate saying, Chris? Dead men tell no tales. The IRS figured out that they don't typically complain a whole lot either about their tax bill, and neither do generational relatives who are inheriting large amounts of lump sum and tax deferred accounts, even if they're paying a higher tax rate than they would otherwise have to. And I think that that's essentially what they did. They gave us on one hand, and right now the focus for many is, oh, they gave me an extra year and a half before I have to take those RMDs. Except they did away with the stretch IRA, which means that they're probably going to be taxing all of those IRA dollars at a much higher rate when they change hands generationally. Chris, another reason why the Roth IRA makes sense here, we're talking about it today, building up those tax-free accounts in the Roth IRA, those don't have the requirements to be drained out in 10 years.
Correct. And you have to think about it holistically here. So, I got a mom and dad that have done quite well, and maybe they're old school and they both have pensions and Social Security benefits, and they don't need the money that's in their IRA account. So it's just growing and growing and growing, but their kids who are much younger, might be professionals. You might have 2 doctors in the family and they're in these ultra high income tax brackets and whatnot. So, why would you want to pass on to them, money that 40 or 50% of that could potentially go to, many different government entities, when there are strategies out there that allow you to keep more of your life savings, right? We know 2 things in life are certain: death and taxes. It
Mr.
doesn't
Benjamin
mean
Franklin.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to pay the maximum taxes, though. Your job is and you have a duty to pay the minimum amount of taxes.
Yep. Well, Chris, we've got a list here of additional strategies. You've listed 6 for conversions. Unfortunately, for the sake of time, I don't think we're going to get to all of them today. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want to look at your specific situation and see which one of these strategies, or maybe there are several that would benefit you, that would apply to your situation, pick up the phone, give McIntire Retirement Services a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Chris, just about 3 minutes left. So let's try to get in maybe 1 or 2 more quickly. Doubling up. You mentioned this before, but this is a different kind of doubling up. Most people don't realize that if you have a workplace plan 401k, you can also make individual retirement account IRA contributions. You can do both.
Certainly you can. Yep. And subject to limitations, as we always have to put that out there. But yeah, so you put 14,000 or so into your 401k at work. You can also put some money into your IRA plan at home. So some additional pieces, or Roth IRA, or you can put money into a 401k at work and a Roth IRA on your own. So a number of different combination strategies are out there. Peter and I, our job here on the radio program, and for our clients that watch this show, that we send out to our clients as well, is, look, let's make sure that we're just not making good returns with the investment strategies, but we're obviously, in the long run, we want to win the game by keeping more of the money that you're making. And that's a very important distinction between investment success and financial success.
Yeah, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. I don't think that Benjamin Franklin said that one as well, but it was along the same vein of 2 things in life are certain: death and taxes. We don't want to be taxed to death. We don't want to be taxed excessively after death either. And that's why these strategies for Roth contributions, Roth conversions make sense. I'm just going to laundry list here, Chris, your list. Maximizing your bracket. Now, we don't want to maximize the taxes that we are paying, but if we've got available space within our bracket, it might make sense to consider using that space for some conversions. buying taxes when they are on sale at the lowest potential rate that we have. Using your returns, using extra savings, using your RMD, using Social Security might be something to consider. Taking advantage of downturns in the market. We talked about that to begin the show, so really bringing things full circle. And Chris, when you're talking to people about any of these strategies, you're also weighing using money that's inside the account versus using some outside extra cash to pay for that conversion. Another important consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. We just did a big a net unrealized depreciation, which is another tax play from a client that worked at a company who had a lot of stock that had appreciated in his 401k plan, and we maxed out the 22% tax bracket. That was the whole plan all along. And you know, he'll pay more in taxes this year than ever before, but then he'll pay some capital gains taxes when he goes to sell some of that appreciated stock. And right now, the capital gains rate is 0 until he gets into the 22% income tax bracket. So again, that's tax planning. Had to pay a little bit now and hopefully pay nothing down the road.
Well, again, there are so many strategies out there, ladies and gentlemen, but bottom line is you want to be as efficient as possible with your money. Chris McIntire can help you identify the strategies that can help you accomplish that. Pick up the phone and give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Chris, always a pleasure. An important topic. I'm sure we'll cycle back to this one at some point in the future, but I've enjoyed the last couple of weeks as we've sort of geeked out on taxes.
Absolutely. And you know, this is my favorite topic to talk about. So I enjoy geeking out about taxes here. And everybody, thank you for listening in, watching us on our website and the podcast, and stay safe.
Talk to you very soon. Chris McIntire is looking forward to hearing from you, helping in any way he can. Pick up the phone, give him a call, 800-868-1194. We'll talk to you next time on Game Plan for Retirement.
Visit McIntyreRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Indexed or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract.